An authentic edition. So today we're going to be having Mr. I say, okay, so it's coming up, joining us soon. Okay, okay. So thanks everyone for joining us. And okay, very good. Very good.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, sir.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Is it? I think it's evening over there too.
Yeah, it's 9 p.m. in Kenya
Okay.
right now. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, could
How?
you please help me pronounce your name so that I can pronounce your name well?
Oh, it's Alpha size. Alpha size.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Elfas. Okay. So it's a great privilege to have Mr. Elfas here. We also have had him last year, but we had a challenge, little challenge, but we're having him live right now. And I want to say thank you very much for accepting my invitation and thank you very much for making this work. So we're going to introduce Mr. Alpha and then he's going to begin right now. I want to make it quick and very short so that we won't take much of our time. I think time is time as well. So, Mr. Alpha, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So the topic is African, the young African development innovation for the Africa we want. And then we wanted to briefly talk about that topic and then we go straight up to the question.
Come again. I didn't get
Like,
you.
yeah, would want you to actually talk briefly about the topic and then tell us about the challenges with African young African development and innovation we want for Africa. At the same time, we go straight to the question section.
All right. Thank you so much once again for having me. As you said, we ought to have done this last year, but then due to unavoidable circumstances, we are
Yeah.
here now. So to be quick, when we talk about Africa and innovation, we can't ignore the fact that Africa is a prime place where several kind of hubs and nurturing young people to adopt technology. It's quite gaining entry into Africa, especially with the onset of COVID-19
Mm,
somewhere early in 2020. You realize that it was at a point when some of the activities, in terms of supporting the economy and in terms of living a day-to-day life, were trying to gain entry into the African market. Take food delivery, for example, or any service or good delivery, for example. You find that in the Western countries or in other countries outside Africa, these things are so much normal. But then there was a certain sharp rise, in adopting
mm,
technological ways of doing business, even in the financial sectors. Banks were trying to encourage their customers, to adopt mobile banking and stuff like that. Everything was cashless with the social distance and stuff. So young Africans became so creative, trying to build platforms that could really ease in, the way
mm,
of operating, if it is in the service industry or whichever sector that deem fit for whichever service that is required. So to that point, I think there's still some gap, that has to really be filled for
mm,
us to clearly, adopt a higher percentage of innovation among us, especially among the young people. Africa is a youthful nation, yeah, and we are people who could really learn and
mm,
adapt very fast because you realize some of the systems we use, in Africa, in the education setup, you realize they're not made from our own. There is no
mm,
technological gadget, or not even gadget. There's no technological atmosphere or an ecosystem that is fully made or sprouted from Africa. We tend to borrow. So the big challenge we are having is to kind of cut that the I would say we decolonize, right?
mm,
We detach ourselves from that and try to create our own stuff, because I would really want to look at technology in a way that we don't really need to envy, what other countries are doing for us to copy. You realize a lot of things that are
mm,
up in Africa we tend to copy a lot of it, and then we do it the same way they're done, and then whoever takes the credit is not us. So technology is it would really help, if the youth adopt it so much through the government, because a bigger challenge is, the government trying to create for young people that kind of an environment. So one thing that us as Africans, and for the young people, for Africa to develop a tech atmosphere, because tech definitely helps accelerate growth in whichever economy. So we are looking at transformed economies and jobs, creation of digital jobs, right? So there's some things, we really don't need to wait for the government's action. There are these private, private public partnerships, and then looking at Google, for example. Google has been making entry into Africa through several programs, startups and trainings. I bet you've seen them. So mostly they yeah, there's one, I think they started somewhere last month, if I'm not wrong, where they wanted to, I mean, uplift, about 100 startups, funding everything, training its founders and all that. So the bigger part is to always position ourselves as young people, to some of these opportunities. There is little we can do, to create something from scratch, because it has reached a point where we have to, be submissive that tech gained entry into Africa. It was not made in Africa, right? Tech gained its way inside Africa from other countries, yeah. So that is a fact that we can't run away from, right? But how do we want to decolonize ourselves from so much, depending so much, on everything from the outside? Yeah. So once we take that training, yeah, for example, like the Google is trying to install such trainings, why don't we use it to transform our own economy? Yeah, create a lot of digital jobs. Yeah, and even try to end poverty with it, because we are looking at an environment where young people are becoming, their own bosses, freelancing, doing 2 3. Africa being a youthful economy, if a bigger percentage of youths adopt that, and try to use it, to transform or to help others within Africa, then I bet that would really be a game changer. Because another part of the challenge in this, you find that an African youth, would really want to take this opportunity, but then we have this thing we call, like, for example, this thing we call the American dream. That you find a young person, say from Kenya, gone to school in Kenya, high school, college, but then their entire part of life they would want to, live abroad and work abroad, and which is just so wrong. why are why are we running away? Why are we running away from transforming where we, our motherland, where we came from, creating digital jobs for others? Because you gain the knowledge, but then why go, to another country where it originated from? Why don't you try to install such kind of knowledge, through expressing and maybe professing, and also trying to do a lot of conversions in terms of activities, or even empowering others? Yeah. So I've been myself, I've been working with organizations, in Africa, in Kenya and Africa at large, to try to the big agenda that I've really been pushing, is to make the African youth be self-dependent, yeah, self-employed, yeah. Trying to remind them that they do really have a talent in them that they could really commercialize, yeah, to be their own boss, yeah. They don't really need sophisticated training or training tools, but then whatever, we have some Africans who have already learned a lot of this tech stuff from the outside. Then why don't we gather among us the professionals in the tech industry, teach our fellow young people, but then do not only teach them, for the sake of teaching them, teach them, coach them, follow up, so that they become, their own bosses, and they help others. The whole goal is to transform the economy. The whole goal is to create jobs, because, African job crisis, unemployment rate is so high. With COVID-19, it's accelerated to almost double percentage of what is existing. So that is my whole plea, and that is what I've been really, really working on around the clock, with the organizations that are interested, in transforming the lives of young people. It doesn't matter, remember I said sometimes the government is sleeping on its job. We can't wait on the government to do this for us, to create even technological hubs for us, but it's for us to step up. Remember, I told you we had accepted the fact that technology was not bred in Africa, right? So we gain it, we help, we use it to transform, our lives, our economy, create jobs, and then be, have a seamless running kind of an ecosystem, where young people are so much engaged in some of these activities, because clearly the government has failed in most African countries to even give the smallest percentage of young people jobs. Yeah. But then nowadays, since the pandemic came, you realize that there's been a lot of startups in Africa, especially in the fintech field. Yeah. And service delivery, things like food delivery or medicine delivery. I've seen them, sprouting a lot in Africa, and then they're gaining interest, of external investors not from Africa. Then you tend to ask yourself, what is the government doing? The government is there, but then they see these things, but then it's a foreigner who comes and says that this is a good thing, let me pick it up. Then you realize then we really don't need to depend on anybody, not even the government, even our own country people, because I bet there are people with the prowess and the financial muscle to even push this. But you find that something is incubated and born and incepted in Africa, but then a foreign person comes and injects money, then you tend to drop the script and say that whoever comes, because definitely we have created an environment where we are creating businesses, but then we are expecting attention from the external investors who are not from Africa, because we tend to believe that they have the money. Yeah. But that is something we have to reverse. Yeah. Let us use whatever we learn from these guys to build our economy, stressing on decolonization. Let us not fully depend on external aid a lot, because even the Western people know that Africans can't live without foreign aid, grants, and stuff like that. So through technology and innovation installed into the young people, we can overcome a lot of that. An economy that is run by a youthful nation. How sweet would that be?
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, so one of the things you said, which I took note of, was like, let's use what we learn for the development of our nation, and not really about the money we're getting. So,
Yeah.
one of the questions I'd like to ask, I'm so glad that you're from Kenya. So this is we trying to actually solve the African problem, and most importantly, let's say the East and the West African problem. Now, how about those who are far from even experiencing a bit of tech? Like we have places in Nigeria where I've been to where they don't really have those opportunities. Now, as young leaders like us who have knowledge like this, we're getting it. How do we get to pass across this knowledge to them without even the fact that we don't even have as much as we should have to actually help other society, at least have a little touch of what it means to actually be tech oriented? How can we actually pass this message to those people?
Yeah, of course. Definitely. That is a very big challenge, when we're talking about accessibility, because I would want to say that, as you put it, people who don't have this expertise or knowledge, most of them, you'll find out that, they reside in areas that maybe, number one, basically they don't have maybe net internet access, yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would answer based on an example of what we did here in Kenya specifically. So in 2020, about in February, I think. So there's this program that we kicked off. It was all to help, not really finish, but try to at least reduce the unemployability rate among the young people. So we sat down and saw that, okay, in Kenya, we have about 47 counties. What in Nigeria you guys call states, right? So
Yeah.
so in Kenya we have counties, yeah, and we have 47 of them, yeah. And the 47 of them, only about 7 are in urban situation.
Wow.
About 40, are in rural areas. So what is
Wow.
the goal here? What do we do? Yeah. So what we did basically, we tended to look for professionals from those 40 counties, right? Professionals who maybe might have moved from those counties to the urban counties, to kind of learn this knowledge, learn these new technologies and stuff. Yeah. So once we had identified, in different fields, those good in IT, those good in medicine, or maybe those good in other, maybe engineering as well. So what we did when we had, gathered all these professionals from these rural counties, then we had a meeting with them and asked them, because they have been there and they know the challenge of accessibility, even government itself has been having a hard time, even, trying to build infrastructure in terms of roads, or even some basic amenities that are needed by people. So we identified some specific points or places where we could really use, to gather these young people in those urban areas, what we call youth empowerment centers. Yeah. So we went to those villages, despite how hard it was, because definitely we had to incur a lot of implications, yeah, financial
Wow.
implications of, yeah. So we went to those counties per county with their professionals, yeah, gathered them in those specific areas, because you have to choose an area where it would be easily accessible to a bigger number. Yeah. So we took about 6-7 months, trying to put some of these new skills into their brains, because some are totally unaware, or some are
Wow.
semi-scaled, some are unscaled, but then some are a bit scaled. Yeah. So you put them into groups, right? And once you've subdivided them into groups, because those that are unscaled, it will really take a long time, to install all this into
Yeah.
them, then make them put it into practice. So our main goal was that the unskilled young person has to learn this. By the time we leave out of there, they shall have been able to put this into practice. So if you check my profile, so those are part of the way we were trying to, install these skills in the unskilled guys, and then we emphasized on them using them to be their own bosses. So we partnered with other organizations, Mastercard as one of the partners, to provide of these devices, right? So that was part of the whole, remember the 5,000 jobs that I stated that
Wow.
I,
Yeah.
so that was the whole journey. Yeah. So we did that. Our reports, attracted, gained the interest of Mastercard Foundation, and they supplied the relevant tools that, these young operate. It's really hard, you know, to it's delivering information to somebody who's not skilled. It's easy, but then how do you get to them? So getting to them would really involve strategies, specifically like the one I've told you. Try to get people who have been in those counties. Ask them, how can we reach these guys, and what are the attributes of these guys? How do they react to new people, new information? Are they willing to adopt something new? Are they willing, to learn and use that skill, to maybe be their own boss, or create a company, or create anything? Yeah. So I think it was really successful, what we did,
Wow.
because that is a big challenge, not only in Kenya. There are other countries that, not even roads can get you there. You have to use aircrafts and all that. But then at the end of the day, you balance your sheets, so expensive. But with the right strategy, I think we can really infiltrate all African young people, either in the urban or rural areas. Specifically, using that example, that we use, that specific strategy of gathering professionals who are from those areas. That was a strategy that really, really was so much successful.
Wow, wow. Well, that's really powerful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay,
You're
so
welcome.
uh, while you were speaking, something dropped in my mind, and I thought maybe you could talk about it. And I feel it's a challenge in Africa. We have an issue with collaboration, innovative collaboration. What can you say about collaborating? How do you think collaboration can really help in strengthening um, growth and accelerating growth here in Africa?
You're talking about collaboration, external collaboration or internal collaboration within Africa
Uh,
or down?
yeah, I think both external. How do we? What can you say about both external and internal collaboration? But most importantly, I think internal collaboration, because which is the problem we are facing here in Africa. I think where we have people who have issues with trust, not because they don't want to collaborate, but have issues with trust. How do we bridge that gap?
Sure. Yeah. The bigger problem is internal collaboration because I believe
Mm,
as young citizens of Africa, the very first partner that we need to collaborate with is the government. Remember, I told you the government maybe has a lot of roles to play, but then when we look at organizations like the African Union, the bigger in their agendas or maybe in one of their whatever how would I put it, like one of their biggest challenge that they would really want to tone down or they would really want to tackle maybe is unemployment, not only into the young people but generally within Africa. So take that organization for example, right? So that should be the first organization, to spearhead some of these collaborations internally, country to country. It doesn't mean that my government, should really just collaborate, with the young people in its own country, because you find that there are countries like Egypt, right? There are countries like South Africa. They're big economic countries. So why don't we do that inter-country or
mm,
intergovernmental? Something we call like maybe an exchange program. Say borrowing. What other countries are doing in terms of trying to accelerate or try to tackle youth unemployment, right? So I bet the very first big role, in collaboration, the big player should be the African Union, because if Africa itself is not, united in terms of
mm,
help, because I believe all of us, depending on which country, we are all one. Because you find a country, a specific country, they can't afford even to, give even the slightest percentage of their youth's jobs. They can't even afford to fund some of these technological innovations and stuff. So why don't we do inter-country collaborations? Yeah, why don't we even create? There's this idea even creating one kind of a passport where you can go to South Africa. One African passport. Where we say these governments, when they meet in the African Union annual general meeting, they say that this is what we want to do about youth unemployment. Let us create hubs, those countries that have the muscle, to create
mm,
hubs. But then there's free movement. Instead of Africans going abroad, to learn these skills,
mm,
why don't I go to South Africa and learn? Why don't a South African come to Kenya? Why don't an Ethiopian go to Nigeria? You understand? So that is the collaboration that I'm looking at. A country itself is unable, Africa, the poverty
mm,
level is so high, yeah. So you find that other countries, the government is trying to struggle maybe to end some wars, yeah, within it, yeah. They don't have attention on youth technology. They don't have attention on other ministries as well. So why don't the leaders, in the African Union create that kind of an atmosphere for all of us, right? Where I can easily go to Nigeria to learn something, then come back to Kenya, build the same thing, yeah. That
mm,
is the collaboration that would really assist. But if I would say that one country, to try to sort out its youth, you would find that at the end of the day, they'll be depending on China or which country, to fund everything, which is not right. So you are creating a high dependency on an external country, because some of these countries, they won't build these things for free. They would really want them in pay
mm.
in other ways, which I don't understand. Yeah. So that
Thank
is
you very.
that is yeah, according to as far as collaboration is concerned, that is the best we can do.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think we're rounding up very soon. So, I think we have two questions. The first question is, I read your profile and then, you know, how much you are passionate for young people and young people's development.
Yeah.
And what it's leadership, and that's the reason why we're having this session. So we're having different leaders from different sectors and different areas of life to really change the mindset of young people. So young people begin to understand what it means to carry the weight of leadership. So what would you say in few words? What would you say is the true meaning of leadership from your own point of view?
I think leadership is quite it's quite a wide. People really interpret it in different ways. Yeah.
Hmm,
For me, leadership is teamwork, right?
hmm,
If you can be able, to impact a life, then one life impacts the other, and not taking that credit, I think that is leadership to me.
wow,
So
wow.
I think that leadership is not leading from the front; it's leading from within. Yeah, anybody
Hmm,
can affect everybody. That is how I
hmm,
look at it. Unlike in the African setup, when we try to term some of our politicians who haven't done so much in helping the young people as leaders, they ain't leaders because these guys are playing, personal interests and all that. And yeah, so to me, leadership is being diluted within the people, listening to people's ideas, them listening to you, as coming to a consensus, moving forward. Nobody's at the front, nobody's behind. Everybody in the same line. That is how I look at leadership.
wow. Wow, wow. I need to read that. He said leadership is not about leading from the front or behind, but from within. Wow. Thank
Exactly.
you so much. Thank you so, so much. That's really powerful. That's really, really powerful. So the last question to come to bring this one hand is you've had experience, you've dealt with different young people globally. And then for me, I think my dream is to really say a young African have an opportunity, even when they're coming from a rural area or they're coming from an urban area. You know, that's my dream to see an African receive the opportunity that they deserve. Now, what advice would you give to young people of Africa? What advice? What is the present desire? What is that present thing you want young people in Africa should know? In few words.
Okay, so these days, it's all about positioning yourself, in the right place, in the path of opportunities. You can't really tell where an opportunity would really come from, but look at the world. There's a lot coming in, in terms of new technology, in terms of new goods, in terms of even people. Some of people from outside Africa are coming, but when they come, they have a mission. Some wants to settle,
Hmm,
some want to start businesses, some want to partner. So for the African young person, my biggest advice, to you is to always interact, network as much as you can, fellow Africans, just have random brainstorming
hmm,
sessions of how can we transform our
hmm,
lives, how can we transform the lives of Africans in general. So the right, being aggressive, that is what I would advise a young person living in Kenya, Nigeria, whichever country. Aggression, leads you to position yourself in the path of opportunities. Yeah, being so much, inquisitive, asking around, because if you become, silent or in your comfort zone, then you would keep on blaming people or government for not pulling you out of where you are. But aggression and positioning yourself would really lift you off your comfort zone, lift you off the poverty group, and change the lives of people within your area in Africa entirely. Remember, I vouched for one Africa, one passport where we can I can travel to an African country to gain knowledge or to deliver knowledge. That is the whole point.
wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Helford. I'm really grateful for having this session with you. And then I think we'll come to an end to this section. I want to say a very big thank you. And I'm trusting that one day we'll be have you physically in Nigeria and we'll have a global meeting where we all African countries come together. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
you're most welcome,
thank you.
brother.
Thank you so much. Okay, sir. So I'm going to let you go now.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Okay, all right.
Thank you too. Thank you.